Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first Goosebumps book review on this channel that I'm ever doing. So, if I make a bunch more in the future, well, this is number one where it all started. The reason I'm doing this is not just because it's October, but I have been personally getting more into Goosebumps. I had a trip to do in a car, and someone was driving me, so I just read the Goosebumps book that I'm actually going to review today, Night of the Living Dummy, because, well, I have a story for that in my life history. And yeah, so I started reading that and I got excited and entertained. And I thought, hey, why not talk about the Goosebumps books whenever I feel like it, also on this channel. So yeah, of course, number one is Night of the Living Dummy. And I have some interesting facts with Goosebumps in present day as well. For example, what I just saw an article today came out September 30th this year. R.L. Stine talks new Goosebumps TV series happening. That's exciting. That's crazy. And the one thing he changed about the movies, exclusive. He also said that he had Fear Street movies, his first horror book series. There's three movies that are going to come out in June, July, and August. But obviously that didn't happen. And instead, they're going to be released on Netflix next year. Now, I think the best thing to do is tell you guys my history with the Goosebumps books and series. So, first off, the first thing I ever was experiencing with Goosebumps was the actual TV show, and it was the episode, the two-part episode, the first, uh, book for the TV series adaptation of The Haunted Mask. And that was a complete coincidence because right now I am 21 years old, so it was a repeat, and I saw that episode. Just lucky, I guess, that it was that one, the best one in the series, or not in the series, in the whole show for the TV show. Anyway, and then right after that, Goosebumps Horrorland, the return of Goosebumps, as many put it, came back, and I got the second and the third book at the same time. Then I got the first book, and I read them in order still. I read the first book, second, third, fourth, and after I read the first three was when I started collecting them and reading them. So yeah, and for the classic books like the one I'm reviewing today, Night of the Living Dummy, I have the reprint with the cover of Slappy in the corner, and yeah, the one that looks like this. So this is the one I have with extra features in the back that I will talk about as well, since they're a little bit entertaining. And yeah, anyway, so I've read the book twice in my entire life. The first time was when I was a kid, and I did not understand it. I did not well, I did understand it, but it was a hard read for me. I do not know why that was the one book for Goosebumps. So that was one of the main reasons why I picked it up and read it as an adult. Well, adult 21, I guess it is adult, young adult, very young adult. Anyway, and I read it and I understood it, obviously, and I'm going to review about it because it was actually very surprising. Things happened in the book and things I have learned about the series, specifically this book, the Night of the Living Dummies series, Goosebumps series. I do want to share. It's very interesting, I think. So yeah, first off is to tell you the story. I'll tell you my thoughts on it, fun facts, and I don't know how long these videos will go. Obviously they'll determine in length, but yeah. So as a spoiler, so to say, the main villain or creep, I guess is the better word to describe it, of the stories is this doll, this dummy called Mr. Wood, and this picture on screen is what he looks like. He doesn't look anything like Slappy the Dummy, in my opinion. And Slappy's not even in the book until the last paragraph, so kind of false marketing when it comes to the reprint cover. Because the reprint cover, if it was Mr. Wood, that would look way creepy, I think. Anyway, um, the story revolves around two main characters, Chris and Lindsay Powell, their sisters. And in the story, they go to a construction house being built in their neighborhood. And in a dumpster behind the house, they find a ventriloquist dummy, which is Slappy the dummy. And Chris is jealous of Lindsay because Lindsay gets the puppet, the ventriloquist dummy, and she's really good at it, so she's jealous. So Chris's dad, Mr. Powell, obviously, later gets this dummy, which you see on screen, called Mr. Wood. And that is when the shenanigans happen. Creepy, surprising things happen, and Mr. Wood seems alive and evil and hates Lindsay. And these things like the dummy vomiting, or not vomiting, sorry, oh god, spoiler alert. But like the dummy, like the big event that I remember is the refrigerator scene where downstairs, 3 a.m. in the morning, I think it said, that Mr. Wood completely destroys the refrigerator. Everything gets tossed on the ground. The parents wake up and blame them, and Lindsay and Chris together blame Mr. Wood. Obviously, they don't believe her. There's also a moment where Mr. Wood is fighting Slappy at nighttime, or it seems like he is, and they wake and they see both strangling each other. They're not moving, but they're on a seat in a very weird way, as if they were fighting. Obviously, it's revealed that this was all a trick by Lindy on Chris. She was freaking Chris out for fun to make her think that Mr. Wood was alive, or that Slappy was alive. Well, mostly Mr. Wood. But yeah. And so things kind of calm down. Everything seems good. She finds a little white note in Mr. Wood's shirt pocket, and she reads the 8 famous words: Karu, Morai, Odana, Lama, Moranu, Carano, and they seemingly don't do anything to Mr. Wood or Slappy. That's something to talk about as well. Once again, for a little bit later in the video. And yeah, Mr. Wood then comes alive. And, right then, that night, Mr. Wood comes alive and is like, "Oh, Lindsay, or Lindy, you're my slave." Or maybe her name might be Lindsay. Nope, I'm sorry, it's Lindy. Chris is the one who reads the words. I'm so sorry. Chris is the one who reads the words, and Mr. Wood awakens, and Mr. Wood threatens Chris, talking about, "Oh, you're my slave," basically everything Slappy does. And automatically, it's kind of funny how they're so scared of him being alive. Then when he does become alive, they completely attack him. They try to rip off his head. They manage to drag him outside and bury him. He comes back the next day and stuff like that. There's a moment where he strangles a dog. That was actually pretty surprising. It reminded me of the scene that Chucky does to the cat in the Child's Play 2019 remake movie. Anyway, finally, Mr. Wood, they all run away or they chase him, stuff like that outside, and eventually they go to the construction site where they found Slappy originally at the house, and Mr. Wood, just out of nowhere, surprisingly, gets run over by a steamroller. The worker, I remember this, the worker thinks he's run over a kid and he freaks out, but anyway. Yeah, Mr. Wood dies. His evil green, I think it was the color, leaves the wooden body that's in pieces and disappears. And Mr. Wood is gone forever. It's surprising because, well, Slappy was always, um, and always has been promoted as the main villain of the Night of the Living Dummy franchise. But in the very first book, it's this guy, Mr. Wood, who I completely forgot about until I reread the book. Anyway, they return at the very end of the story. Slappy reveals himself that yes, he is alive. He's probably, I think he was alive the whole time. Right after Chris said the words to bring the dummies to life. I think Slappy was alive the whole time. Anyway, and that's how the story ends with Slappy telling them like, "Oh, I thought he'd never leave," and yeah. Anyway, it was probably one of the longest Goosebumps books there is, and I thought it was a really good one as well. It was really entertaining, and I actually really enjoyed it. There could be some things that could be fixed or improved upon. Probably less, not being scared of the dummy when it's actually alive. Anyway, I really do like the reprint cover. I think the covers are just as, if not even more famous in the real world than the actual stories. Anyway, I think one of my favorite things about the living dummies, which happens in Mr. Wood's case too, which is saying here, there's a scene where he goes to, or Chris is practicing her ventriloquist act with Mr. Wood, and Mr. Wood just flat out insults these two old people, this old couple who comes over to their house, and the jokes are actually pretty funny. I mean, no, I don't laugh out loud, but you know what I mean. They're pretty entertaining to read. And then there's a scene in the school where she's doing a talent show. Chris is doing it with her dummy, Mr. Wood, and the dummy completely barfs up like gallons of green smell, worst smell in the world, puke all over the stage, even on people, and the dummy's just laughing, and it's so weird because like you really don't question this school or parents of how did a girl get that much into the dummy? Where did it come from? What is happening? Especially based off what she's saying. Anyway, I know it's just a kind of parents shouldn't really be a line of defense as if like because then it wouldn't really be as scary. But there's that scene. I really do like the living dummy Slappy and Mr. Mostly Slappy because he usually does very crude and insulting jokes. Anyway, but obviously there's a ton of Mr. Wood here. Um, yeah, I don't really give ratings anymore, like 10 out of 10s or 9 out of 10s. Maybe someday I'll look back on it and do it, but those are mostly my thoughts on the book. I do think the dog torture was it did kind of shock me. I remember Welcome to Dead House, there was a dead dog, and then there's this in this book. I think it was number 9 in the series. But when it comes to me reviewing this and my reading order, this was the first reprint for Goosebumps Horrorland. Goosebumps Horrorland is how I got into it. So that's something I'm going off of in my thoughts and whatnot. This Night of the Living Dummy was the first reprint from this to that, and that's why I read it. And yeah, anyway, I have some other cool facts. So apparently, I always thought that Slappy here was actually very not looking good like Slappy in the from the books at all. And if when I got older, I thought, hey, maybe that's because they're gonna make a Night of the Living Dummy 1 actual episode, which never happened. It was in an outline stage, but it just didn't move past that. That's why there wasn't one. And I thought, hey, what if this dummy was supposed to be Mr. Wood? Because he looks a lot more like Mr. Wood than Slappy does. I mean, the Slappy, that's the one in the movies. This one looks like Mr. Wood. I mean, I know he has the Slappy suit and I think the lips, or no, chip on the lip. But, yeah. But apparently, the real reason was not because he was supposed to be Mr. Wood. They just gave him a lot of freedoms for what design they wanted to do. And that's why Slappy looks like that in the TV show. And yeah, Now the Living Dummy 1 was never put into TV in the slightest, unfortunately. So with today's world, just a fun fact, 2 days ago on October 6, 2020, the latest Goosebumps book, My Friend Slappy, released, and in the next book that will come out today, which will be in March 2021, Monster Blood is returning. I always was a fan of Monster Blood's look. I know the books aren't good at all, but I haven't read Monster Blood 4 actually, so that'll be cool to see if I'll ever read that. Anyway, Mr. Wood actually makes an appearance in another book 24 years after this one came out, with his origin being revealed in the prologue of the book called I Am Slappy's Evil Twin, which I'm excited to read. I haven't read that either. I haven't read any Goosebumps book since today, since Goosebumps Horrorland number 19. I think it was called Thriller at Chiller House. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the book. That's what happened in the book. There are some, things with the book or just the series. It repeats a lot. This book is basically the exact same. Well, maybe not 100%, 99% the same as Goosebumps Horrorland issue 1 Revenge of the Living Dummy, except Revenge of the Living Dummy has Slappy as the main villain and Night of the Living Dummy had Mr. Wood. That's really it. I mean, I know Goosebumps Horrorland, there's 2 parts, 2 stories, but anyway. That's why, yeah. They have, when the special edition reprint of the book, they have stats for the supervillains. And for Slappy, his humor is at 10, evil is at 9, intelligence is at 9, speed, strength, and attack skills are both at 6. So that's just some, little fun. Anyway, he always wants to be ruler of the human race. Oh my gosh, I'm reading about Slappy here. Not Mr. Wood, which is weird. Why is Slappy stats here, not Mr. Wood in the reprint? Why don't they reprint? Maybe they do that in Night of the Living Dummy 3 or something. I don't know why. What the heck? Anyway, there's also a little guide on how to do ventriloquism, but whatever. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of bad, my first one ever. I'll try to do better in the future. I'm just talking right now. This channel, Super Sam 7, is just for blad I want to do on here. My real channel is called The Real Super Sam, where I post comic book reviews and top lists of covers and stories and designs, etc., etc. With all that said, I think it would have been a much more entertaining video if I had more to say. If I was talking about Slappy for the story, it'd probably be a lot better instead of Mr. Wood, because Mr. Wood, basically one and done in my mind right now. So, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like or just comment. Have a good day.